unvaccinated into a selfish election. And what ended up happening? He spent the most amount of money in an election for an expensive cabinet shuffle. So hypocrisy runs rampant within this government, and Canadians see it all. Thank you.
Very short question from the Honourable Member for Sandwich Goldfields.
I wanted to grab the moment of an opportunity to just correct the record. I do not support the Liberal budget. I voted against it. The idea that I continually support the Liberals. I'm a Green Party member, not NDP.
Statements by members. The Honourable Member for Markham Unionville.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As Parliamentary Secretary of Diversity and Inclusion, I'm proud to stand in this House today to recognize May as Asian Heritage Month and to thank Canadians of Asian heritage for their immense contribution to our country. In Canada, diversity is a fact and inclusion is a choice. And there is still work to be done to make Canada a country that is truly equal for everyone. For the last 2 centuries, immigrants have come to Canada from East Asia, Southern Asia, Western and Southeast Asia, bringing with them rich heritage representing many languages, ethnicity and religion. While the Asian community itself is very diverse, we are also united in helping build stronger communities and standing up to hate and discrimination in all of its forms. I have been proud to celebrate Asian Heritage Month with friends, colleagues and constituents this month, and I look forward to continuing to represent Canadians of Asian heritage in this House. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Confederation.
Madam Speaker, abroad, drought, conflict and war leave millions hungry every day. Much of this suffering is completely avoidable. My daughter is currently working in Ukraine with the United Nations World Food Program, and they do wonders under the most dangerous conditions just to get someone in need their next meal. Since the war in Ukraine, they have fed 3.7 million people there alone. Millions in Ukraine and around the world will go hungry this year because of Putin's war. Russia's war, waged by a megalomaniac leader, will drive up food costs around the globe. Already we are seeing the effects, and it will get much worse later this year with the first missed crops. Quashing the Russian war machine is the fastest and quickest way we can help reduce the number of hungry around the world. Let's do our part to reduce world hunger.
The L'Honourable Député d'Orléans.
The Honourable Member for Orléans. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Last week, I met with Nova Oculus, a Canadian company that is advancing a promising new medical device to treat age-related macular degeneration, AMD. AMD is an incurable disease that affects close to 2 million Canadians and is the leading cause of vision loss among Canadians over the age of 50. Nova Oculus is currently awaiting Health Canada regulatory approval for a new form of treatment of AMD that uses microcurrent waveforms directly to the retina. In their recently completed clinical trial, participants saw immediate results and optimal visual improvement after just 4 30-minute treatments, including their ability to watch TV, recognize faces, and function within their environment. With our government recognizing that one of the most critical issues affecting seniors is their ability to stay in their homes longer and at a higher quality of life, I praise Nova Oculus for its determination and passion in providing Canadian seniors suffering from AMD the ability to retain their vision and enjoy the golden years of their lives. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Montcalm. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is the 19th of May, and we are celebrating the International Day for Family Doctors, and I would like to congratulate them all for the essential work that they do within our healthcare system. They are the doctors who are closest to patients, and they establish a personal and lasting relationship that is focused on prevention. They are very special people who have an awful lot of empathy and compassion, and they carry out this function in the medical profession. They are the front lines, and I wish to pay tribute to them after so many years of pandemic troubles, to be there with their unflagging devotion. We need more, and of course, in order to achieve that, we have to start by recognizing them and appreciating them. And so we want to say from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for your work. The Honourable Member for Hochelaga. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One of the international hubs of research on cell therapy is in Hochelaga. The Centre of Excellence for Cell Therapy is one of the only centres of its kind in Canada. I would like to congratulate Dr. Denis-Claude Roy and his team for their exceptional work and for their commitment to changing the lives of many patients. Their research is aimed at providing a cure for the incurable. Cell therapy is a process of using human cells, living human cells, as a medication to destroy cancer cells, replace a defective immunity system, or one day eliminate leukemia. It's a true revolution in medicine that opens the way to innovative treatments for diseases like Alzheimer's, genetic diseases, cardiac failure, and others. And cell therapy is the medicine of tomorrow, and it's happening in Hochelaga. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable. Mr. Speaker, today I would like to pay tribute to Mr. Renaud Fournier, a businessman who's no longer with us. He is a perfect example of economic diversification in the city of Thetford Mines. In 1960, asbestos mines and its white gold, as chrysotile fiber was called at the time, were at the heart of our region's economy. And it was at that time that Renaud Fournier founded his tinsmith and metal welding shop. And at the time, the mines were his only customers. He quickly became indispensable, and his hard work made it possible for him to reach his business goals. Over the following 60 years, Fournier Steelworks became Industrie Fournier and is today the Fournier Group. Renaud Fournier's investments and vision made it possible for him to develop his vision and his reputation in the mining industries worldwide. And since 1999, he has prepared the next generation, and thanks to his vision, Fournier Industries continues its role as a major economic developer in the Thetford Mines region. On behalf of my colleagues in the House of Commons, I offer my condolences to his wife Janine, his children Pierre, Daniel, Brigitte, and José, and all of the employees of Industrie Fournier.
The Honourable Member for an opinion.
ಮಾನ್ಯ ಸಭಾಪತಿ, ಕೆನಡಾ ದೇಶದ ಸಂಸತ್ತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ನ
I feel happy for the opportunity to speak in my mother tongue, first language, Canada, in Canada's Parliament. For a person from Draralu village in Sira Taluk region, Tumkur district, Karnataka state in India, getting elected as a member of Parliament in Canada and speaking in Canada is a proud moment for about 50 million Kannadigas, people who speak Kannada. In 2018, Canadian Kannadigas celebrated Canada Rajyotsava State Day in this Canada's Parliament. I close my statement with a few words of Bhagavad-gita's emotion poetry written by national poet Kuvempu and sung by Natasva Bluma, Emperor of Actors Dr. Rajkumar. It means wherever you are, whatever you are, be a Kannadiga.
The Honourable Member for Milton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, a community has been absolutely devastated after a white supremacist opened fire at a Buffalo supermarket, killing 10 and injuring 3 more. Most of the victims were members of the black community. Il faut reconnaître la douleur, la peur.
It is important to recognize the trauma and fear that causes for black communities here as well.
Hate crime motivated by anti-black racism and the so-called white replacement theory. Some on this side of the border were quick to say this happened across the border. We don't have the same issues as the United States. But Buffalo is only 90 minutes drive from my riding of Milton, and events like this do happen here in Canada. The Offsall family was murdered in London only a year ago. This far right-wing violent extremism is the greatest threat to public safety in North America, and it disproportionately impacts black and Jewish communities, Muslims, Indigenous people, and other people of color. Canada is not immune to white supremacy. One ideologically motivated hate crime is one too many. We must find ways to put an end to these hate-fueled attacks. I refuse to accept that they are inevitable in today's society. We are leaders. In this House, we are obligated to denounce hateful rhetoric at every turn, unequivocally, with our words and our actions, but also with better policies and better laws. Thoughts and prayers are not making our community safer. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Selkirk Interlake Eastman.
Mr. Speaker, traditionally, Vyshavanka Day is a time to celebrate Ukraine's rich culture and traditions and share them with the world. But this year, it's time to stand with Ukraine in solidarity. Today, while we enjoy our peace and security here at home, often taking it for granted, our beloved Ukraine suffers from the illegal and unjustified full-scale invasion by Vladimir Putin. Ukrainian soldiers and civilians have already been bravely fighting and sacrificing their lives for 87 days to protect the basic values that we all believe in. It's time to ask ourselves, what is the cost of not supporting Ukraine in this fight? It means that dictators and despots around the world can redraw the lines on a map by force and get away with it. Ukraine is valiantly defending against the Russian invaders. Canada must match this bravery by providing what Ukraine needs the most, more lethal weapons. If we believe in protecting dignity, freedom, democracy, and human rights, then we must recognize that this is our fight as well. Canada must always stand with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini, Heroam Slava.
The Honourable Member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, Innovation Week is a 5-day celebration to recognize and support Canadian ingenuity in all sectors. We are paying tribute to entrepreneurs and innovators who change the world one idea at a time. Canadian innovators are well placed to face and overcome challenges, including the most pressing worldwide challenge, which is climate change. Mr. Speaker, the City of Vaughan is a center for manufacturing and agri-food processing. And these are two sectors that are growing with innovation. We also have the first intelligent hospital that is linked to rapid transit to other research hospitals. Innovation is imperative for our society and our economy. Innovators and entrepreneurs are strengthening Canada's ecosystem, and we will always have their back at every step of the process. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Regina Capel.
Mr. Speaker, inflation isn't like the weather. It's not something that just happens like a snowstorm in May. The inflation that Canadians are suffering from today is a direct result from the deficits the PM racked up, bankrolled by the money printing at the Bank of Canada. When the Prime Minister ran out of other people's money to borrow, he turned to the bank, and the Governor was only too happy to oblige. The Bank of Canada created over $400 billion in brand new money to purchase the government bonds to pay for the out-of-control Liberal spending. Anytime you get more dollars chasing fewer goods, you get inflation. The decision to bankroll the government's deficit spending undermined the bank's independence. It has one main mandate, to keep inflation at 2%. It has completely failed, and Canadians are right to demand accountability. To restore the bank's independence, the leadership at the bank needs to stop acting like it is the PM's personal ATM. As Milton Friedman said, inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon. But we can't expect the PM to know that. He brags that he doesn't even think about monetary policy.
Order. Just keep the temperature down and keep the noise down so we can get these great SO31s in. The Honourable Member for Kamloops, Thompson, Caribou.
Next week, Mr. Speaker, marks the 1 year since the discovery of 215 unmarked graves at the former Kamloops Residential School. The announcement sent shockwaves through the country and around the world. It opened up the eyes of thousands of Canadians and others to the horrors of residential schools. I offer my deepest condolences to residential school survivors. Thank you to those who've shown incredible bravery by sharing their stories. Your experience matters, your voice matters, your history matters. The Secwepemc have a word for those who never returned from residential schools. Les Squeakwe, translated as the missing. At this time, our country grieves alongside those who lost a friend, family, or loved one.
Tu Lesquique, may eternal light shine upon you. You will never be forgotten.
Well done.
The honourable member for Davenport.
Mr. Speaker, I am thrilled to rise in the House today to honor the winner of the Shaughnessy Cohen Prize for Political Writing that was presented at the 35th Annual Politics Independent Gala earlier this week. This year's winner was from a super talented lineup of finalists was Joanna Chu, a Canadian journalist who won for her debut novel, China Unbound, A New World Disorder. I want to thank the sponsors and the amazing Politics Independent organizing team for putting on such a fun evening and for raising $300,000 for the Writers' Trust of Canada, a very important organization that advances, nurtures, and celebrates Canadian writers in writing. I also want to give a special shout out to Canada Unbound's publisher, House of Anansi Press, based in my Toronto riding of Davenport. Canada has such a rich literary culture and so many talented writers. It's important for us to recognize and honor their work and their contribution to political discourse both in Canada and abroad. So congratulations to Writers' Trust of Canada for hosting a successful event and to Joanna Chu for this fantastic achievement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Also, while I'm standing up here, I will also make the comment of anyone that's in the lobbies or outside the lobbies to tell our friends that happen to be out there to keep the noise down back there, because it does bleed over into this chamber. So as much as we think we're having fun and laughing at certain jokes and happy to be seeing each other, that does bleed over when we're having serious moments here in the House of Commons. The honourable member for Churchill, Kiwatanuk-Aski.
Mr. Speaker, today I want to pay tribute to Cliff Evans, who passed away earlier this month. Cliff was known for many things: a hotelier, the mayor of Riverton, MLA for the Interlake, ministerial assistant to Minister Steve Ashton in the NDP government, and most recently as an invaluable member of our constituency team. Cliff accomplished a lot. A strong mayor, an MLA who fought for all his communities, his legacy from flood protection to highway improvements and support for fishers. Cliff was a proud New Democrat. Even though he was on the receiving end of the PC vote rigging scandal in the 1990s, he had an incredible ability to reach across the partisan divide. He was proud of his work with the former MLAs Association. What we will always remember about Cliff is how he connected with people, how he was welcomed in so many rural communities and First Nations, where he was like a member of the community. Cliff was also a great mentor, a mentor to many. Cliff was one of my mentors. I was proud to work with Cliff Evans, proud to have known him. He will be missed by many.
The member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Mr. Speaker, May 20th is World Bee Day. This day takes on a special meaning, as many of our beekeepers have lost a large number of their bees, with mortality rates as high as 80%. No concern or production can afford such a loss, and the producers were gathered at a press conference yesterday to sound the alarm. They need support. The higher temperatures due to climate change are having a devastating effect, and beekeepers are calling for emergency assistance. We need to be there for them. We also need to find long-term solutions to preserve our precious pollinators that help our crops. And that is why I tabled a motion in committee. Bees play a key role in the environment, agriculture, and food in this country. It is our duty to protect them.
The honourable member for Lethbridge.
With the perpetuation of his punitive vaccine mandates, the Prime Minister is in fact prolonging the pain of COVID. The hypocrisy is evident and everyone is watching. His mask is on in Canada, but it's off when he's gallivanting around the world. His mask is on when he met with Prince Charles yesterday in Ottawa, but it's off when he met with the Queen in England. Instead of inspiring confidence and strength, he continues to stoke fear and division. Many Canadians are asking why. Well, I suppose it's because he's more easily able to control people when he keeps them worried and fearful. Talk about an abuse of power. The Prime Minister keeps telling Canadians that he is following the science and listening to experts. But two questions arise. What science and which experts? The provinces have followed the science and they've lifted the mandates. Countries around the world have done the same. So the question is there some secret science that the Prime Minister is privy to that he's not letting the rest of us into? The reality is this, folks. Canadians deserve better. Canadians are calling on the Prime Minister to put aside his obstinate ways and act in the very best interest of Canadians. It's time to lift the mandates.
The honourable member for Etobicoke Centre.
Speaker, today is Vyshyvanka Day, the day of the Ukrainian embroidered shirt. And today I'm very proud to be wearing the Vyshyvanka that my grandparents Ivan and Elena made for me many years ago. In the past, I've worn this shirt to honor my grandparents and to celebrate my heritage. But this year is different. For Ukrainians, the embroidered shirt's not just a garment, but a sacred emblem of Ukrainian culture, tradition, and history since ancient times. The embroidery tradition has been passed on from generation to generation of Ukrainians, as has the desire for freedom and the courage and the resolve to fight for it. And the Ukrainians have demonstrated that courage and resolve since Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24th. This year, on Vyshyvanka Day, people around the world are wearing a Ukrainian embroidered shirt to show their support for the people of Ukraine. This year, we not only honor our ancestors, we not only celebrate Ukrainian heritage, but we stand even more firmly with the Ukrainian people. I've never been prouder to wear my Vyshyvanka. Slava Ukraini!
Oral questions, question orale. Another député.
The honourable member for Mégantic-L'Érable. For 2 years, Mr. Speaker, Canadians have making sacrifices for COVID-19. They stayed home, they got vaccinated, they got tested, and they've been wearing masks. 2 years later, based on science, the majority of governments have lifted mandates and given their citizens some form of normalcy. All governments but one. Only one government refuses to admit that their citizens have made enough sacrifices. Why?
To the Minister of Health.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, we know more than ever about COVID, and we have come a long way since 2020. We have safe and effective vaccines, and Canadians are highly vaccinated. Our government will continue to make decisions based on science and will adjust its advice and public health directives according to the evolution of this science. The honourable member for Mégantic-L'Érable. What we're seeing is that the Liberals' ideological stubbornness, which is not supported by science, is hurting Canadians. We can see it in airports, Mr. Speaker. In Canada, it clearly shows that this government, this Liberal government, is completely overwhelmed, and it's travelers who are paying. There are long queues, passengers are imprisoned in their airplanes, and this could have been foreseen, but the Liberals did nothing. Oh, actually they did something. They're blaming travelers. When will the Prime Minister end mandates in the airports? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have screening and monitoring tools that allow us to identify variants of concern and transmission of the virus. We also have new measures that allow people not to get sick. Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives have a choice to make today. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Let's look at the government's record, Mr. Speaker. Passport issuance, chaos. Service Canada, chaos. Immigration, chaos. EI, chaos. Management of the House, management of the borders, chaos. Management of inflation, chaos. Every single thing this Liberal government touches is a dismal failure. Mr. Speaker, will the minister responsible for this chaos, will he please rise in this House? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we know, we have gone through 2 years of pandemic, and now we're in a transitional period. Canadians have followed the rules. They have done everything they could to make sure that they themselves and their families were protected. We thank Canadians, and the Government of Canada will be there to help them. And we are putting in measures in place to ensure that Canadians receive the services they need. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Thornhill.
Another day and more horror stories from Canada's airports. While the Minister of Transport blamed out-of-practice travellers for the bottlenecks at those airports, the Parliamentary Secretary now says that it's a global phenomenon. It's not. The government has not acknowledged any responsibility. They still haven't shared any specific advice they claim to have for the restrictions in the airports. When will the government apologize to all of the travellers who have missed their flights due to their incompetence?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We understand how frustrating it is for Canadians to experience long lines and delays at airports. Canadians can rest assured that we are working to resolve this issue as quickly as possible. And as I said earlier in the House today, we have hired approximately 400 new screening officers that are currently in different phases of their training across the country. We are taking affirmative action by forming working groups with CATSA and CBSA, PHAC, and other aviation partners, and they are meeting multiple times a week to find and address the bottlenecks leading to these delays. We ask that Canadians remain patient as we work hard with CATSA and their air sector to find a solution.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
The airports across the country are still grinding to a halt, and this government says that it's your fault. The people who are waiting months and months for passport, well, the government tells them you have to line up at 4 a.m. Basic government services, the government says, sorry, take a number. The Parliamentary Secretary has said testing 4,000 travellers a day and keeping 4 million Canadians from domestic travel is based on public health advice. I have one question. What specific advice has she seen that nobody in this House has?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Families, Children and Social Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to acknowledge that after 2 years of staying home, of making sure that they're doing everything they can to protect themselves and their loved ones, Canadians now want to travel. And we understand that there is a huge demand and there are unprecedented volumes, in fact, volumes that we haven't seen since 2006 when the United States asked Canadians to have a passport to travel there. We are doing everything we possibly can to ensure that Canadians can access those services in a timely fashion, and we'll continue to maintain these measures so that Canadians can have access to these services. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, the government has decided to appeal the court's decision concerning the unconstitutional appointment of a unilingual Anglophone Lieutenant Governor in Canada's only bilingual province. But not all the Liberal members agree. Now there are 3 Liberal members who have spoken out to decry this decision. That's half of the Liberal members in New Brunswick. Does the Minister of Heritage find that his colleagues who are defending French in New Brunswick are dangerous radicals? Just a bit. The Honourable Minister of Official Languages. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, our government is firmly committed to defending both official languages in this country, and that is why on March 1st I was able to table Bill C-13 to modernize the Official Languages Act. We're doing this work, and I hope the Bloc Québécois and all parties will be on board to help us out. In future, our government commits to ensure that all lieutenant governors in New Brunswick are bilingual. Thank you. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, on the one hand, we have the Liberal members who are defending French in New Brunswick, and on the other hand, we have Liberal members who are speaking out against the defense of French in Quebec, the same gang who refuse to recognize that French is the common language in Quebec, the very same people who called us names in the Bloc because we want federal private businesses in Quebec to be submitted to Bill 101. And the Bloc people are the radicals? Whatever, Mr. Speaker. Who's going to be listened to by the Prime Minister? Those who are fighting for French or those who are fighting against it? The Honourable Minister of Heritage. Mr. Speaker, the members of Bloc Québécois always stand up in this place to defend French because they're real Quebecers. But Liberals who are from Quebec aren't real Quebecers, is that right? So the Blocois, they're the ones who decide who's a real Quebecer? And that's why they're radicalizing, especially when they say that if someone is actually, we do defend Bill 101. So when they say that if someone wants Bill 96, they want to anglicize Quebec, no. We are here to defend friends. The Honourable Member for Rosemont-le-Petit-Patrie. Mr. Speaker, last month, inflation reached the highest point in 31 years, 6.8%, and yet salaries are going up on average only 3.3%. I don't have to draw you a picture or do math. Think about purchasing power. Now, major chains are amassing huge profits. Grocery bills are going up by 9%, and families are turning to food banks more and more. When will the Liberals tax the excessive profits of the oil patch and put in place a tax credit for the GST? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We know that inflation is partly caused by the Putin's illegal war in Ukraine, and that is why we are acting for affordability for Canadians. We have reduced middle-class taxes twice, and we have increased by 1% the tax for the richest. We have also ensured that the Canada Child Benefit is indexed to inflation. That's affordability.
The Honourable Member for Elmwood Transcona.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I find it interesting, when we bring up inflation, the government likes to talk about things that it did 5 or 6 years ago. But the fact of the matter is we're experiencing record inflation now. And we're experiencing that in a context where a number of companies, including oil and gas companies right now, are having huge windfalls. So the question is the government prepared to tax those excess profits and return it to Canadians in the form of an additional GST rebate or not? Yesterday, we saw them side with the Liberals, or side with the Conservatives, rather, excuse the slip, to vote against a measure like that. We want to know, are they going to get with the program and provide relief to Canadians now?
The Honourable Minister of Tourism and Associate Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I thank the Honourable Member for his question. We know that inflation is taking a toll on the lives of Canadians and on their pocketbooks, and that's why, once again, in this tax season, Mr. Speaker, the basic personal income amount has grown again. Another $500 in the pockets of Canadians. A family right now that has been able to take advantage of our childcare benefit in Alberta will save almost $6,000 a year. We've indexed the Canada Child Benefit to inflation. We are focused on affordability, Mr. Speaker, and the needs of Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Central Okanagan, Similkameen Nicola.
The last time we saw the price of groceries jump 10% was in 1981, when another big tax and spend Liberal Prime Minister was in office. What was his name again? Well, it's like deja vu all over again, Mr. Speaker. Doug Porter, the chief economist at BMO, said that inflation is spreading much more broadly and at a clear risk of getting firmly entrenched. Will the Liberal government acknowledge today that its big tax and spend policy are entrenching inflation? And when will they start to address the cost of living crisis that we're in, Mr. Speaker?
The Honourable Minister of Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, one of the first things we did when we formed government in 2015 was lower the taxes on the middle class twice, tax the wealthiest 1% more. In Budget 22, we have increased taxes on Canada's banks. The illegal war in Ukraine that Putin has started is driving up inflation. If the Conservative Party is serious about supporting Canadians, they can start supporting smart legislation, smart results, stop blocking the BIA at finance, get it to a vote, and put money in the pockets of Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Central Okanagan, Similkameen Nicola.
He's still using talking points from 2015. He's got the time machine. He's going back to 1981 with their policies. Now, other energy exporting countries like the United States and Australia are taking action to protect their consumers from record high gas prices. Trevor Thom, an economist at the University of Calgary, has found that when Alberta dropped its gas tax, it successfully reduced their inflation rate in April. Since they obviously have no ideas about how they can improve on gas prices, Mr. Speaker, will they at least reconsider the Conservative proposal to exempt the GST on fuel? Will they at least do that?
The Honourable Minister of Tourism and Associate Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we know that inflation is affecting the lives of Canadians, and that is why our budget stepped up to the plate. And I know the Conservatives don't like that we have been delivering for Canadians for 7 years. I know it offends their sensibilities, but the reality is, Mr. Speaker, in our budget, dental care for Canadian families, doubling support through the first-time home buyers credit, a multi-generational home renovation tax, $500 to those facing housing affordability, Mr. Speaker. They can scream and shout. We're going to keep delivering for Canadians.
It's almost like a song, twist and shout, yell and shout. There. Order. Just bringing some a little bit of order here. Just yelling doesn't help.
The Honourable Member for Richmond North Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, we learned yesterday that inflation has reached 6.8%. We have to go back to 1991, 31 years to see such a rise. Canadians are paying 10% more for their groceries as compared to last year, and that's without counting the sharp rise in gas prices. Mr. Speaker, will the Liberal government propose concrete solutions for Canadian families to help with the terrible cost of living that people are having to pay now? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I respect the question from my colleague. We know that inflation is affecting all Canadians, and that's why, once again, in Budget 2022, we increased the personal amount, basic personal amount. That means hundreds of dollars more in Canadians' pockets this year. We reduced middle-class taxes by taxing the wealthiest 1%. We are going to continue to bank on affordability. And while the Conservatives shout, we are working on affordability. The Honourable Member for Richmond North Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, inflation is going up, and up every time this government does nothing. Gas was more than $2 per litre this morning, and diesel continues to rise. That's 35 cents more expensive right now than only a month ago. That has a direct impact on transport costs and therefore automatically on all consumption prices, including groceries, and everyone buys groceries. So I repeat my question. Will this Liberal government take its hands out of its pockets and start working for Canadians so that the cost of living can go down once and for all? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, we know full well that here in Canada, the inflation hike is caused partly by the illegal war in Ukraine, and that is why we're helping to make life more affordable for Canadians. In Budget 2022, we have dental care for Canadians. We've doubled the tax credit for a house purchase. We've got help for seniors. We're going to continue to work on affordability. While the Conservatives are squabbling, we will help Canadians.
Mr. Speaker, this week's diesel prices averaged $2.30 per litre compared to just $1.45 last year, and prices are still on the rise. Diesel is the fuel that powers our economy, powers our critical supply chain from coast to coast. This is going to impact the cost of food, clothing, and other goods. This is going to lead to an economic catastrophe. When will this tone-deaf government provide immediate relief to Canadians by cutting the taxes and ending the crippling and punitive carbon tax?
The Honourable Minister of Tourism, Associate Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, as the other side knows, 8 out of 10 Canadians get more back on what they pay for the price on pollution. That is verified in the numbers, and that is why we are using a market mechanism. There's no evidence that reducing taxes on fuel would pass to consumers, and at a time, Mr. Speaker, when this House should be focused on getting Vladimir Putin and his army out of Ukraine, the other side is playing games. We're focused on making life more affordable, Canadians, Mr. Speaker. That's exactly what we will continue to do.
The Honourable Member for New Brunswick Southwest.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals keep blaming Russia's war in Ukraine for the big price difference for gasoline between Canada and the United States. But that's Liberal disinformation. The objective of Canada's carbon tax is to make gasoline more expensive. And it's working. The Liberals should be taking credit for making energy more expensive with their punitive carbon tax. After the exchange rate, gasoline in my riding is $2 a litre, and it's only $1.50 in the state of Maine. That difference is all tax. What does Russia have to do with that?
The Honourable Minister of Tourism and Associate Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. This is a serious issue, and Canadians deserve a fact-based discussion, not partisan talking points from the Conservatives. The fact is, Mr. Speaker, that this global phenomenon is caused in part by the illegal invasion of Ukraine by Putin. We continue to propose concrete measures to make life more affordable for Canadians. They focus on political talking points. We're focused on Canadians.
Everyone's clapping, Randy. Pretty weak.
The Honourable Member for Repentigny. If the Paris targets in terms of climate change are not achieved, it will be largely because of Canada and its carbon bombs. We're talking about projects that will produce billions of tons of CO2, and that's not megatons, that's gigatons. These projects are so dirty that they will make the goal of reducing climate warming to 1.5 degrees impossible. And the researchers have a solution. We have to cancel these projects. Will the Minister of Environment pledge to do so? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. As she knows, just over a month, we presented our climate change plan, which shows how Canada will achieve its targets by 2030, regardless of what happens with oil production. Our plan works, and in fact, emissions in 2019, before the pandemic, declined. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Repentigny. We're talking about something new. These are carbon bombs. So if all of these development projects were put in place, the planet would be in trouble. We have learned that climate warming could attain 3 degrees. That's the double of Paris targets, and that's dangerous. Canada has 12 carbon bombs, and this should be a priority in any mitigation policy for climate change. These projects need to be cancelled, and some of them have not yet been gone ahead with. So will the Minister of Environment pledge to refuse any of these carbon bombs in Canada? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I might remind my colleague that the question of climate bombs is not new. When I was with Greenpeace in the 80s, we published a report on that, so it's nothing new. And we have pledged to work to cap emissions in the oil sector. And that is one of the things that will allow Canada to achieve its targets by 2030 to reduce by 40% its emissions, whereas the IPCC are asking countries to reduce by 43%. So we're doing what's needed. The Honourable Member for Avignon, Métis, Matane, Matapédien. Mr. Speaker, is one of the 10 countries who are lagging behind in terms of carbon bombs. It's on the same list as Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, the list of rogue states who are alone threatening the future of our climate. And yet we would have the most to gain from ecological transition, but we're still subsidizing fossil fuels. We have to shut down these carbon bombs, these carbon projects. And why in 2022? Why are fossil fuels still receiving subsidies? The Honourable Minister of the Environment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. As she likely knows, Energy Policy Tracker has shown, independently from the government, that Canada is investing more in clean energies than in fossil fuels, and our green transition project is the greenest of all G7 countries. And we have pledged to eliminate all fossil fuel subsidies by 2023, 2 years earlier than all of our partners, and that's what we're going to do. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse-les-Etchemins-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, Audrey Nicolas, 2 residents of my riding, talked to me about something very concerning. Their babies have severe allergies to maternal milk and to formula, and they have to use hypoallergenic formulas. And there is almost none left in terms of supply, so the parents are concerned. Canada seems to have put in place a transitional policy, and this product could be available in a month, but that's not soon enough. Do these people have to wait a month to feed their babies? The Honourable Minister of Agriculture. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That is a question that is very important, and we take this very seriously. With the Minister of Health and CFIA, we are working to ensure that in Canada we are supplied by a number of reliable sources, and we're doing everything to ensure that there will be no shortage.
Prince Albert.
Mr. Speaker, Canada is the 5th largest agri-exporter in the world. In fact, we ship healthy food all over the globe. But increasingly in Europe, non-tariff trade barriers are restricting our access. What can the minister assure these producers, the agri-food industry, that these tariffs will be eliminated or won't be applicable in the new upcoming Canada-UK agreement?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member for that question. We know that we have some of the most amazing exporters here in Canada, and we have incredible trade agreements, including in the European Union, that gives our producers over 500 million customers. We continue to work with our trading partners to make sure that those markets are open. And indeed, we are seeing results because we are seeing trade increase into the European Union, and we are at the table with the United Kingdom. And those exporters are also getting access to that market while we are negotiating an agreement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Cypress Hills Grasslands.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we learned this week that India has placed a ban on wheat exports as a result of poor crop yields. It is Canada's responsibility to step up to the plate and meet this new global demand. But because of this government's failed policies like the carbon tax and a failure to grow our export markets, our farmers are now left with their hands tied. Why has the minister failed to secure greater market access for Canadian wheat, which would allow our farmers to step up and meet this looming global food shortage?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, we have access to 1.5 billion customers in the global marketplace through Canada's excellent trade agreements today. Whether it is here in the North American market through the newly negotiated CUSMA, or the European Union through CETA, whether it's at the CPTPP, that's another 500 million customers in the Asia Pacific. We're at the negotiating table with the UK, with Indonesia, with ASEAN. We are opening up markets, and we're working with businesses, especially small businesses, so that they can get access to these markets. So I'm very proud of the fact that Canadian exporters are growing, and they're growing around the world because of the great work that we are doing.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, it's now clear that long COVID cases are spiking across Canada. Half of all Canadians infected with COVID-19 are expected to develop significant long-haul symptoms. Experts are warning that this will create a mass disabling event with serious and debilitating impacts on patients. Yet Liberals have ignored long COVID both in their public health policy and guidance. What concrete steps is this government planning to take to help people suffering from long COVID?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to thank my colleague for his collaboration on the Health Committee. The government recognizes that some Canadians who have contracted COVID-19 are facing a long recovery. Our government is actively working with national and international experts to build the evidence base on post-COVID-19 conditions to support Canadians experiencing longer-term effects. Increasing our understanding of COVID-19, including its longer-term effects, is key to addressing and recovering from the pandemic. To that end, since March 2020, the Government of Canada has invested more than $250 million in critical areas of COVID-19 research. Mr. Speaker, Budget 2022 also proposes over $20 million over 5 years starting next year for the Canadian Institutes of Health Research to support additional research on long COVID and the effects of COVID-19.
The Honourable Member for Nunavut.
I have asked this government many times about programs and services towards the betterment of Inuit, First Nations, and Métis. Indigenous people don't have adequate housing, proper investments in education, and mental health supports. This is systemic discrimination from the federal government. Now, the Parliamentary Budget Office tells us this government is accomplishing less than previous years. Why does this government keep failing to deliver results for Indigenous people?
The Honourable Minister of Indigenous Services.
Well,
Well, Mr. Speaker, first let me thank the member opposite for her constant advocacy for equity, and that's exactly what our government is pursuing. Mr. Speaker, we've made historic investments in Indigenous communities and with Indigenous peoples. Mr. Speaker, we've passed legislation to empower Indigenous communities to reassert control over their own child and family welfare. Mr. Speaker, we've settled negotiations with Indigenous people in terms of land and treaty obligations. We'll continue, Mr. Speaker, to work because we believe, Mr. Speaker, that when everybody has a fair chance to succeed, our country is so much stronger.
The honourable member for Richmond Centre.
Mr. Speaker, May is Asian Heritage Month. This year marks the 20th anniversary since the Government of Canada officially declared May as Asian Heritage Month in our country. And this milestone stands as a tribute to proud legacy that members of many Asian communities continue to build on. Could the Minister of Housing, Diversity and Inclusion please update this House on how our government is supporting Asian Heritage Month celebration from coast to coast to coast?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister.
I want to thank the honourable member from Richmond Centre for his question and really his important work on this issue. This year's Asian Heritage Month theme is continuing a legacy of greatness, and throughout this month we celebrate the countless Asian Canadians who have contributed so much to our country. Earlier this month, our government also celebrated the 20th anniversary of Asian Heritage Month. I encourage all Canadians to join with Asian communities across Canada as we celebrate a legacy of greatness that has helped our country make what it is today.
The honourable member for Edmonton Riverbend.
Mr. Speaker, 20 years ago, if you worked hard, saved some money, you're probably going to be able to afford a single-family home. But today, so many young Canadians are being squeezed out of the housing market, barely able to afford rent, let alone a down payment. Not everyone has access to the bank of mom and dad. This Minister of Housing is failing young Canadians, so should they simply just give up on ever owning a home?
Great question.
The Honourable Minister of Housing.
Mr. Speaker, it's really interesting to hear them talk about the dream of home ownership, because every time that they get a chance to actually do something about it, they vote against it. When we bring measures to increase housing supply, what do? They vote against it. When we brought in measures to enable first-time home buyers to save up to $40,000, what do? They vote against it. When we put together a plan to top up an extra $500 to support vulnerable renters in Canada, what do? They vote against it. Mr. Speaker, they can say one thing here, but Canadians can see through their rhetoric.
The honourable member for Kenora.
Well, Mr. Speaker, Canadians of my generation are giving up completely on the dream of home ownership as a result of this minister and his government's failures. That's right. Under his watch, housing prices have doubled, supply is not meeting demand, and as a result, many young Canadians are being pushed out of the market altogether. By every measure, this minister has failed to get the job done, but he continues to double down on the same failed policies. Why?
The Honourable Minister of Housing.
Mr. Speaker, recently at the Humour Committee, the Canadian Association of Home Builders called our $4 billion investment in the Housing Accelerator Fund a once-in-a-generation opportunity to build more housing supply. What did they do? When that came on the floor of the House of Commons, they voted against it. Mr. Speaker, they talk about more supports for municipalities to build more housing supply. In fact, the member from Sarnia Lambton is calling for that. But then she should have consulted her leader, who's against supporting municipalities and providing more housing supply. Yet the member from Mission Mascouche Fraser Canyon wants us to walk away from that and just give money to the provinces, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Calm down. Calm down. The honourable member for South Surrey White Rock.
Mr. Speaker, we are seeing 30-year high inflation. A single dad in my riding tells me he was looking at an illegal 18 by 18 foot rental unit for $1,500 a month and competing with dozens of others. My daughter and her husband rent in East Vancouver. Their small one-bedroom, no storage, no parking, $2,200 a month. How can young people save for a down payment on a house when their entire pay is going to rent and food? When is this government going to get serious and help working Canadians with this cost of living crisis?
Yeah. The Honourable Minister of Families, Children and Social Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, Mr. Speaker, I have good news for that member because in British Columbia, they've signed on to the $10 a day childcare agreement. So for that single dad, he's going to receive up to $6,000 a year in childcare reductions if his child is in daycare. It's also the Canada Child Benefit, Mr. Speaker. So for him as a single parent, he could be earning up to $6,000 a year to support his children. Mr. Speaker, we are there for families every single day, and we'll continue to be there, whether they're in British Columbia or right across the country.
The Honourable Member for Montmagny, Kamouraska, Rivière-du-Loup. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The price of homes in Canada has gone from $434,000 to $868,000. That's double. Young families who want to buy an affordable home close to work and school where they can raise their families are finding themselves in an impossible situation. Their dreams of home ownership are being shattered by the high cost of homes. But the government keeps repeating the same lines. It's a global problem. It's a global problem. Always the same answer. Can the minister explain why families have to pay for his failures? The Honourable Minister of Families. Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives, whenever we do something to help families, they say, no, don't do that. We have invested in child care and put real dollars into the pockets of Canadians. We increased the child benefit. That's real support for Canadians. Mr. Speaker, we will be there to help Canadians, whether it's in Quebec or all across the country. Thank you.
All right, we're at 29. So that was, yeah. L'honorable député.
The Honourable Member for Rivière-du-Nord. Mr. Speaker, with more and more shootings, the Bloc called on the Prime Minister yesterday for a registry of criminal organizations. A registry would allow police to immediately arrest any known gang member. But true to form, the Prime Minister dismissed the idea. He said it was simplistic and that we needed to act on many different levels. Of course we do, Mr. Speaker. But one of those levels, a crucial one, is to make it easier for police to do their job. Gang wars won't stop on their own. We have to take action. Why are the Prime Minister and the Minister stubbornly refusing to do what's obviously required? The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, I agree with my problem that there is a huge challenge and we have to work together to move forward in combating gun violence. As I've said before, there is very strong legislation, the criminal code, for example, to ensure that those involved in criminal acts are brought to justice, and we will work on other concrete solutions to reduce gun violence. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Avignon, Matane-Matapédia. Mr. Speaker, the existing laws and other concrete solutions the minister is talking about have had no effect on the gang war. Sooner or later, actions have to be judged by their results, and the results speak for themselves. Montreal is on track to break quarter-century-old records for shootings. Mr. Speaker, the police are looking for ways to make more arrests. And it's hard not to agree with them when you consider how many shootings are happening on our streets every week. When will the minister create a registry of criminal organizations to facilitate police work? The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, the proof of progress is that in the past year, the Association of Chiefs of Police reported a record number of firearms seizures. We've toughened things up at the border, and that has all been done through investment and resources. And the next time there's a vote here in the House, I hope that the Bloc will support us. That would be proof of cooperation, and that would help us make further progress in future on combating gun violence.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Fort City Church is working to bring a family of Ukrainians to Fort McMurray. Good news, the parents and grandma have now received their travel documents from immigration, but the family still can't come to Canada because their 6-month-old Yosef's paperwork is still being processed. My question is simple. What is it about a 6-month-old baby that scares the minister?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very sensitive to the issue that's raised by the member, and certainly as we move forward on numerous measures, we want individuals, Ukrainian, to come as fast as possible, and I'm happy to report in this House that there is over 24,000 Ukrainian who've made their way. And Mr. Speaker, I had the privilege of meeting with some of them last week as I visited Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And let's not forget, Mr. Speaker, our new measures, charter flights, will be arriving here on May 23rd in Winnipeg as a first flight to Canada.
The Honourable Member for Selkirk Interlake Eastman.
Mr. Speaker, let's make sure we cut the red tape. Now, Vladimir Putin has been waging a brutal and illegal war in Ukraine for almost 3 months. Unfortunately, this Liberal government has been slow to act and even slower to send to Ukraine the lethal weapons it needs to survive. They've refused to send to Ukraine our soon-to-be-retired light armored vehicles, such as our Bisons, our Coyotes, and our M113 armored personnel carriers. All of these labs will end up in the scrap heap if we don't give them away. The Americans are sending their M113s to Ukraine. Why aren't we?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of National Defence.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We will continue our efforts so that Ukraine can win this war. That's why very recently the Prime Minister announced an additional $50 million in military aid, which includes, Mr. Speaker, 18 drone cameras, $15 million in high-resolution satellite imagery, up to $1 million in small arms and related ammunition, and an additional ammunition for the M777s, Mr. Speaker. Ukraine can continue counting on Canada to support its fierce resistance against this illegal war by Vladimir Putin. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Just don't need to do the yelling. That'd be nice just to get the questions and the answers. The Honourable Member for Lakeland.
Mr. Speaker, Vyshyvanka Day celebrates Ukrainian culture, but it's bittersweet today for the 22,000 Ukrainian Canadians in Lakeland. In Ukraine, their loved ones are in bomb shelters, their homes in ruins. Lloydminster's sister city, Nikopol, is ringed in barbed wire and barricades. 16-year-old Mikita was in Vegreville when Putin attacked. His mom and sister got here. His dad is still in Ukraine. Visas take months. 0 federal flights have arrived. Almost 13 million Ukrainians are displaced. And while Putin murders civilians, his ambassador is cozy on the Rideau 10 minutes away. Why on earth is he still here?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the member for her question. I think everyone in this House is united in our support for Ukraine, and we are doing everything possible in the military sense, in humanitarian sense, in immigration, as we continue to help Ukraine. At the same time, we have an unprecedented set of sanctions on Russia. We are suppressing Russia. We're bringing Russia down to level this playing field. This war will be won, and Canada will be there to help Ukraine. Thank you very much.
The Honourable Member for Sudbury. Mr. Speaker, in March 2019, 2 Canadian companies with operations in several provinces had their canola seed exports to China suspended by Chinese customs authorities. Can the Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food tell this House if there have been any recent developments? The Honourable Minister of Agriculture. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We know how important the canola industry is to the Canadian economy. It's high quality and important for food safety and security in the world. And 2 companies did have their exports suspended. Since then, our government has been working hard with the industry, and I'm happy to report that those companies will now be able to resume their canola exports to China. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Edmonton Riverbend.
2 years ago, Iran shot down flight PS-752. Many Iranian Canadians in my community continue to grieve. In the midst of their grief, the Iranian Football Federation has been invited to a friendly match in Vancouver. Now, it's no secret the Iranian Football Federation has heavy political connections to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. They are the same people that shot down this plane and killed 176 passengers. Will the government stop this match from happening?
The Honourable. I haven't called anyone yet, so let me call the right one here. The Honourable Minister online. All right, hold on. Order, order, order. Order. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Speaker, that was obviously a very good question that we, as a government, are in a state of pondering, and we'll get back to the member very shortly.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Confederation.
Mr. Speaker, last year we unanimously passed my private member's bill that would help Canadians register as organ and tissue donors through their annual tax return. The minister told this House 3 months ago that the CRA would consult with the provinces and territories in the coming weeks to get this done. Well, 3 months later, Mr. Speaker, and multiple provinces and territories are telling me that they have heard nothing from the minister or her department. Canadians needing a life-saving transplant are also waiting. Can the minister tell Parliament what she will personally do today to get this project on track?
Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do believe this is a question for the Minister of CRA, but as the Parliamentary Secretary for Health, I agree with the honourable colleague opposite that organ donation and encouraging organ donation, as well as ensuring these things are available to Canadians, is the utmost importance, and I'm happy to support the member and have a conversation further. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Good answer. The Honourable Member for Perth Wellington.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 37.2, my question is to the spokesperson for the Board of Internal Economy, the member for Red Deer-Lacombe. Last fall, a question of privilege was raised in this House about troubling allegations of Liberal partisanship by the Clerk of the House, benefiting the government with insider tips and helpful arrangements. The Chair ruled that the Board of Internal Economy was seized with the matter, so it was better placed to address the allegations. Since then, the Board has held 8 meetings, but there has been no report, no consequences, no investigations, no news whatsoever. Can the spokesperson for the Board of Internal Economy please update this House?
I don't know which one's the spokesman. I need to consult for a moment. Oh, kidding. The Honourable Member for Red Deer-Lacombe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the Honourable Member for the question and for reminding me about that rule. As he may know, the Board is required by law to discuss employment and legal matters in private, so I cannot say what, if anything, has been decided or discussed at those 8 meetings. I would note, though, that the Board's July minutes, which have been tabled in the House, indicate my predecessor who asked for an external review, but that the Board did not approve. Of course, my friend is experienced and savvy about Parliament and would know that the Board works on a consensus basis, so if any single political party were to veto taking action on the allegations of Liberal partisanship, there would be no Board action or decision to report.
The Honourable Member for Avalon.
Mr. Speaker, seal predation has been a major issue in my riding and across the province of Newfoundland and Labrador for years. It was our colleague and former MP Scott Sims who brought forward the National Seal Products Day Bill. And it was our government that established the Atlantic Seal Science Task Team, and now with the release of the report, it's our government who will tackle this issue. Can the Minister please update this House on our government's recently announced plans to address this critical issue for the benefit of our oceans, our fish stocks, and the people who depend on them?
The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
Speaker, I thank the member from Avalon for his question. And Newfoundland and Labrador's fish harvesters have no louder or prouder champions than the member and his Liberal colleagues. Seals eat fish, and last week I released the Atlantic Seal Science Task Report. And the very next day in Corner Brook, I announced immediate action on their recommendations, including hosting a seal summit in the fall, as well as how to include seal impacts in the fisheries management decisions. Mr. Speaker, Canada's fish and seafood industries have no stronger champions than this government. Hear, hear.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, recent polls tell us Canadians are deeply concerned about the threat of nuclear war in Ukraine. Nuclear disarmament is more important now than ever. The world cannot be held hostage by madmen like Putin. Before they were elected, the Liberals promised to play a leading role in nuclear disarmament, but like so many other promises, Mr. Speaker, nothing has been done. The Canadian government has an obligation to use its power and influence to make the world a safer place. Will the minister, at the very least, commit to sending an observation delegation to the disarmament meeting in Vienna this June?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the member for Edmonton Strathcona for that question and her commitment and leadership on this very important issue. Canada shares in its unwavering commitment towards a world free of nuclear weapons. And we agree that we need to stop the proliferation of nuclear weapons in all places at all times. And while we acknowledge that the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons reflects well-founded concerns about the unacceptably slow pace of global disarmament, our concerns right now and our focus is on working with the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, the NPT, and on the Stockholm Initiative. We will continue to engage in all multilateral fora. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have the honour to follow up on that question from the Honourable Member for Edmonton Strathcona. If we have an unwavering commitment to end nuclear weapons, why is Canada not even a signatory to the Treaty for the Abolition of Nuclear Weapons? Why will we not send a delegation to the first meeting of the parties now that that treaty has come into force legally?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I again appreciate the ongoing and unwavering commitment of this member as well. Nuclear proliferation is a concern to all Canadians, and we are very well aware of this. We are well aware of various multilateral fora which are working on this issue. We will continue to monitor them every day because we know that a nuclear war can never be won and should never be fought. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And that's all the time we have for question period today. We have a few points of order. The Honourable Member for Kamloops, Thompson, Caribou.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There have been discussions among the parties, and if you seek it, I'm sure you will find unanimous consent for the following motion. That, given that we are approaching the one-year anniversary of the discovery of 215 unmarked graves at the former Kamloops Residential School, the House, A, recognize the harm done to Indigenous peoples and the need for healing as demonstrated by the discovery of the 215 unmarked graves, and B, call on the government to affirm their commitment to lower the flag to half-mast on each and every September 30th in recognition of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation and for each child whose life was stolen at residential schools.
All those opposed to the Honourable Member moving the motion will please say nay. Agreed. The House has heard the terms of the motion. All those opposed to the motion will please say nay. The motion is carried. L'honorable député de la Prairie.
The Honourable Member for La Prairie. A point of order. The Minister of Heritage, in answering a question by the Bloc Québécois, said that the government supports Bill 101, but in 2020, I think that's debate. I think that is debate.
Okay. Moment de silence.
Moment of silence.
Among representatives of all parties in the House, I understand there's an agreement to observe a moment of silence to recognize the approaching one-year anniversary of the discovery of 215 unmarked graves at the former Kamloops Indian Residential School. I now invite honourable members to please rise. And I believe right now we should be asking for the Thursday statement. The Honourable House Leader for the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I know we're coming up to a break week, and I want to wish everyone well. I know there's still work to be done in our constituencies. It's been 4 weeks, and I'm sure the work has piled up. So I wish everybody a great week and restful week as well, because we're heading into the final stretch before the summer break. So my question through you, Mr. Speaker, to the Government House Leader, if he can advise the House of the business when we get back on May 30th, and of course the business of the remainder of the week. Thank you.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
My honourable colleague for his question, and I will associate myself with him in wishing all members a productive week in their constituencies as the weather improves and we're able to participate more and more in events. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to take the opportunity to thank the House for the important progress that has been made on our